this is I think this is the last week of our exhibition that's been ongoing called Woodlands. And what we've done is we've explored in as many media as possible the love of green, the love of a canopy, the love of a beautiful pond, all part of the woodlands. And Mother Nature is a huge call for the two people to my right. And they are really, I would say, shepherds in a way of our pasture here. They really take inordinate interest, professional and philanthropic interest in preserving what we have. So we're going to start tonight. First, I'm going to do a brief introduction, but then we're going to talk about trees and why we should care about trees and what we can do about the wrong, bad stuff we're doing to trees. And then we're going to ideate and probably have some real can-dos from these folks about, the do now, okay? So, to my immediate right, I'm delighted to introduce you to, and will you pronounce your last name, Kasey?
Yturralde.
Yturralde. So Kasey Yturralde is the National Program Specialist at the Urban Forestry Division of the District of Columbia Department of Transportation. Who knew? Tax dollars at work. It's good. Boy, she's done a lot. She's an expert in bugs and insects, right?
I love bugs.
Yeah, you love bugs.
It boils down to that.
Yeah, I like lichen. I hear you. So I know what you're talking about. She completed her PhD in forest science at Northern Arizona University. She's done an awful lot in the field, including with the Park Service, with the National Science Foundation. Quite a resume. And she's going to introduce some really interesting new findings from a report that's just coming out. Francis Grant-Suttie, all the way to my right, he's currently the board chair of the C&O Canal Trust, which is of the essence to all of us, of course. His entire career has been devoted to environmentalism, fighting the bad guys that principally respond to PRPs and the bad guys among the corporates who've been doing the dumping and the degrading of our soil and the leaching into our water systems and going after corporations. Boy, he's done a lot in global finance and in private finance. He was also vice president of Atlantic Flyway for the National Audubon Society, which is very cool. I grew up right next door to the Audubon Society. Yes, in Beach Drive. So, without further conversation about background, we're going to talk about foreground. And I'm going to ask you guys to share a mic because I'm going to be the ref. You hold this if you don't mind. But could you just sort of scope out, really, truly, why we should care about trees? And what do trees, they do an awful lot for us. What's so urgent about tree care?
So we should all care about trees because we live in cities, and in order for us to continue to live comfortably, we need trees. Trees are a nature-based solution that can help us deal with so many challenges of climate change, but the big one that I really come back to again and again is extreme heat. Extreme heat kills 350,000 people a year. It's the top little puppy. It's the highest weather-related killer. The top weather-related killer in the country is heat, extreme heat. And when we live in cities, we have heat island effect. So we need trees to have a livable city. Trees save lives. They avoid 1,200 heat-related deaths a year in the US. So they're really doing hard work. They also help us deal with other impacts of climate change like stormwater runoff, pollution. They do so many amazing things for us to make our cities livable, and they're beautiful to look at. So I can't not bring that up since we're in a gallery. They're beautiful to look at, and when we do that, it relieves stress, we recover from injury faster. So it even has, you know, those benefits for mental health and wellness. We need them and they need us too, so I can get into that in a little bit, but you know, in order for us to continue living in where we live in cities, and more people are gonna be living in cities across the globe, we need trees as a nature-based solution to deal with them.
So what do you do? What do you do in the district? What do you do?
Yeah, so I, my position is lead forester, and I focus on urban sustainability. So I focus on forest health. I respond to questions about spotted lanternfly. We were working on that for a while. Of course, they're here. And then I also, you know, help run the inventory and monitoring that we do. We've had our survival study that we've done in the past. So kind of looking long-term, also with climate vulnerability. What is the vulnerability of our urban street trees in terms of
which trees are we talking about? I mean, the parks, the sidewalks.
So all of them. So we need all the trees in DC.
But what's your purview?
We are directly managing publicly owned trees. So those are trees in the parks, on school property, campuses, and between the curb and the sidewalk. Those are street trees. And that's what we manage directly. And then we have an indirect role in managing the rest of the trees through like a tree law.
Like a tree, sorry?
Tree law, tree ordinance, yeah.
And the tree law would be?
So it protects.
Who's ever heard of a tree law? All right, all right.
If you live in DC and you own a home.
And it's a select audience here, so I get that some of you are.
Yeah, so a tree law protects trees on private property. In our city in DC, we have two different categories. The first is special tree, and that's a tree that is 44 inches in circumference up to 99 inches. And you need to get a permit to remove it, and there's a fee associated with that. If you have a larger tree, and it's 100 inches or larger, it is preserved for perpetuity, assuming it is healthy. So we're not wanting people to keep hazardous, unhealthy trees. And that is a very, it's a very key step in that process, and arborists will go out and inspect those trees to ensure that they're healthy.
Francis, is the canal, I know it's a foundation, but is the canal part of the Park Service?
The C&O Canal Trust is the official partner to the C&O Canal Historical Park. It's 20,000 acres from ground zero in Georgetown to Cumberland, 184.5 miles all the way out there. Most of it's riverine forest.
Most of it, what kind of forest?
Riverine forest.
Riverine forest.
And then we have a bunch of different forest types all the way up. So if you've ever been out in that park, you're mostly under canopy. Not all the time, but for the most part you are. So I'll just back up and say that I was World Wildlife Fund in 100 countries. Forests are the lungs of the world. They go, we go. They provide us with air and oxygen, and they are home to species and birds, as are the 20,000 acres in the C&O Canal right here, right in your own backyard, and it's your park. And so we spend a lot of time engaging communities, partners, school kids, everybody. We were founded in 2007. We've had upwards of 18,000 volunteers that would get into the canal, into the park every year to do a lot of community engagement, voluntary programs. A lot of that's around, just protecting the park, which is at the end of the day is going to be protecting trees.
So is the canal part of the Rock Creek Park?
It's actually not. It's
no.
The Rock Creek is part of the
park system.
The park system, but just in the last couple of weeks, we do a lot of invasive species removal. That's one of the issues we do. And I just bumped into this global warrior, this woman who's been doing invasive species removal in Rock Creek Park. And I was like, we want your experience, we want your learning. Can you join our program committee? We have a bunch of committees on the board, and we also invite community members who are specialists to help us out. So she's
been working in Rock Creek Park.
In Rock Creek.
Yeah.
And her place is in Rock Creek. is fabulous. And then we said, come help us. We do a lot of work, by the way. We have a lot of programs with invasive species removal, but
Kudzu,
my intent
is
is that
kudzu-
we have a
kudzu high
relationship
on
with
your list?
recreation.
Is kudzu high on your list?
What?
Kudzu, is that high on your list?
Everything.
Yeah.
Invasive species, they grow faster and they are really detrimental and degrade native plants. We happen to be one of the most highest biodiverse national parks in the country. 1,500 plant species, 200 of those are rare, threatened, endangered, some of them globally important.
Slow down for a second, slow down. So, we're biodiverse, big time.
So,
What's threatened here?
well, first of all, trees, plants, species who rely on forests that are intact and with the interconnectivity. So it's our job as the trust, as the National Park Service, as all the citizens of this region to help us manage those forests with restoration, planting. We've gone out into these areas to find the seeds of those rare endangered plants, and we're repropagating those seeds to a place called Mount Cuba in Delaware, growing back plants and then bringing them back to the park. So we have a cyclical rotation so that we can keep these plants from going out of business.
It's hard to separate politics from anything now, but in fact, politics and botany have converged. What is the state of the National Arboretum? What is the state of these national repositories of seeds? And I'm going to ask this of you because I think you have sort of a finger on the pulse of maybe government holdings. But I'm wondering if the federal government is pulling back funding dramatically, and we'll talk about the parks and your part of the world, Francis, in a second. What's happening to these plants that Francis is talking about that we have to replenish, otherwise they're gone?
That's a great question. In terms of, seed banks or like, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. I mean, funding is a challenge. We've lost, like legacy, like we've lost scientists that have institutional knowledge and botanical knowledge, natural history knowledge that will be very difficult to replace. So, I mean, all I can say is, I have been, and I'll just say, I had been working for the federal government until earlier in the summer, and so I'm kind of like trying to be a little bit separate from that. But there are a ton of people who, even if they've lost their job, if they had to leave for whatever reason, are still there to steward and take care of these resources. So, even retirement, I know folks that are in it, they're still there and active and working in some way. So the will is there.
The intention is there for sure.
Yeah, and there's a lot of young people who are super excited about this work as well. So it's at all levels. It's just where they fall professionally. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I would just say nature is very resilient. Nature knows how to bounce back. It's been doing it for millennia. It's not just the environmental community. I've noticed worldwide in this country, in this neighborhood right here, people are really engaged. They realize there's a bunch of issues going on that are not good, whether it's funding or they look at degradation across the board here, whether it's forests or waterways or you name it, species, biodiversity. And so we will survive this. We are resilient too. And we are fighters, and we are concerned, and we are passionate about what we do. And we're in a temporary, where's wood? Knock on wood, on a downturn in terms of funding. But I am you can't be in this business without being an optimist. So be optimistic that we're gonna rebound, and we're gonna rebound at some point, I hope relatively soon,
When you
because
say
nature's gonna,
Nature's
stay
resilient,
with us.
and we also need a wallet, a private sector wallet that is ready to help pay and supplant a lot of the federal dollars that will be missing. What kind of challenges and what are you looking forward to as an organization in terms of fundraising?
I meet with our superintendent every month, the leadership team and my leadership team, and we live in the same building, so it's not like this is once a month. They've had some serious cuts, and they have a credit card limit of $1. They had some layoffs, maybe some pending layoffs. So our job is to plug holes. We're not a federal agency, but we are growing. We've been hiring. We're on the ascendancy,
Yes,
and we
correct.
leverage a
They're
lot
hiring.
of,
Are you
and we
still hiring?
leverage a lot of money, a lot of money. Be it the Maryland Transportation Authority, so we are rebuilding the towpath, and we're getting money in there. And so when I said to the superintendent,
working
plug
together?
holes, I mean it
Do
literally.
you work together, your Department of Transportation, with them, C&O, Conservancy?
No, I don't think so.
No?
Not recently, but we could.
You should?
Well, we were just invited into Georgetown, so we're creating a whole new DC program, so yes, I can't wait to work with you. So just an example, 2 months ago with all those rains upriver, there was a blowout in the towpath. Well, what did we do? We went out and got $10,000 worth of a grant. We were able to buy the supplies. That blowout, which would have taken months to fix, it's done in a week. So we can do that. We can plug the holes as best we can. And as people get laid off as private citizens, you know what we're doing? We're just bringing them right back into our orbit to do the exact same thing that they were doing in the Park Service, except for us on natural resource management or
Kasey, how does
whatever.
it look for you? How does it look for your operations?
So, you know, we are lucky. So I work in the Urban Forestry Division. It's in the District Department of Transportation, which is surprising to people often, but we're in Transportation Department. But I will say that because we're positioned within DDOT, we are a little bit better off than other similar agencies in other cities, like Parks and Rec. So the funding is a bit better because of where we're placed. Also, there's a tree fund that is replenished through that tree law. So that goes back into tree planting. And we also, we provide emergency response as well. So, we're there when storms happen. But, I won't say that, I read the newspapers and I see what's coming for DC and with all of the job losses and tax law, So, but we're pretty optimistic right now, so.
What would you like to do that you're hoping to do in the next, say, 3 years? What's sort of top in your priority list?
Yeah, we are, one of the big priorities we have is to bring that climate lens to our urban forest, to the tree species we have in the urban forest. So we've done that already with our publicly owned trees, because we have that full inventory, we have the data, we've had it. But the new piece that we have is from the urban FIA report, an analysis from the Forest Service, and that gives us a snapshot of all the trees across the city, public, private, any land, all land. So that's where we want to take that climate vulnerability lens and understand like what proportion of our entire forest is vulnerable to climate change, and weave in what we can do knowing that we have pests and pathogens that are coming, that are here, and what trees should we be looking toward for restoration and or just for our street tree planting.
How about you, Francis?
So we have, our National Historical Park has 1,300 structures in it. Lock houses, intake valves. I think we're second behind the Smokies. And so when I first got here to the park on the board, I don't know, 1822, structures were it. And as chair, I've raised natural resources to an equivalent level strategically. Why? because if we don't protect the natural resources of this park, there is no park. We have so much culture and history, but the natural resource aspect of this is equally important. So for me, until they kick me off in the next 3 years, it's all about climate resiliency. So if we can start, and we just got $25,000 from the Perennial Garden Club of Washington, Maryland, and Virginia. That's gonna double, triple our plantings up in a place called the Gold Mine Tract, which is above the Great Tavern, if you know where that is. It's mixed oak and tulip trees, and we are wanting to, it's been devastated by white-tailed deer and climate, and we have beech leaf disease and so on and so on. Plus we have a thing called social trails. People go off trail and they build their own trails, and that attracts invasive plants and so forth and so on. So it's building the resiliency of our native forests through replanting, invasive species removal, protecting the rare endangered plants in a cohesive, holistic method. Plus, it's all because of you. We have hundreds and hundreds of citizens that come out every single year to volunteer. School kids to the Smithsonian Associates and everybody in between. 80 partnerships, universities, school systems, AU, Georgetown. I love the Poolsville Global Environmental Science guys. They all come out and they're replanting and taking out invasive species. So it's an army of citizens that we mobilize, we engage, we manage, we fund, and it's you who's going to be able to help us and the Park Service protect this amazing resource. And we're the only National Historic Park in the nation's capital. I had Senator Van Hollen and April Delaney out a few weeks ago, and we had some Assistant Secretary from Interior from Texas, because we raised a lot of millions of dollars through the Great American Outdoors Act and so forth. And this guy from Texas, new into the interior, looked at me and he goes, "What's a lock house?" And I said, "Sir, I'll make you a deal. Why don't you come on a hike with us on one condition? You take off your suit, put on some jeans and some hiking boots, and come see what the real park is all about." And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to mobilize everybody. We are a nonprofit organization, so we're nonpartisan. So we can do it. I think we can do it. I'm very hopeful we can manage through this period of time.
Francis, are there other sources of income other than, that's some interesting company you've got going there.
We have a lot of private donors. We have a bunch of foundations up and down this region. And then we work with all the major private companies. There's a lot of private sector here. Deloitte, Beverage and Diamond, KPMG. Host hotels are coming out to where I live out here in Marsden Park tomorrow with their community their employee impact days to do what? Remove invasive species. So all the private sector are stepping up, bringing their employees, because employees expect their companies to have impact days in whatever region, and one company they have too many people volunteering on our parks, so
okay, so
it's all of us and above.
Hold up a sec. So there's nobody over there to talk to, so I'm just gonna pretend there is. No, we're going to the audience now because we don't want to get too long in the lip here, and I want to know if anybody in the audience has hiked the canal. Has anybody hiked the canal? Has anybody hiked?
Pieces of it.
On a regular basis,
You're on the Potomac on a regular basis.
all the time.
And are you on a boat? Are you walking? Are you
Kayaking,
kayaking?
on the water.
Yeah.
My question.
Yeah.
because
And what's your name?
the
What's your
kudzu
name?
is Obviously.
What's your name? Introduce yourself.
Sorry, Betsy Lamont. The kudzu on the trees along the Potomac is frightening,
Disgraceful.
to say the least.
It is disgraceful.
The amount of trees that are down, depending on which way I'm going north on the right, but all the way from the parkway, and I mean, the other day I did the whole Roosevelt Island, that route,
Question,
My question is how do you get rid of it?
how do we get rid of the, that's my question too.
I mean, I don't know, I mean, I'll do anything.
We're gonna get
I'll
to you in
go
2
full
seconds,
line.
unless it's kudzu related. Is it kudzu related? We have a weed warrior here, so I think we're gonna ask the weed warrior, how do we get rid of kudzu?
You don't.
You don't.
Yeah.
That's a short answer.
I mean, it's
Actually,
just
most of the
destroying
stuff
the
that
tree.
she's talking about actually isn't kudzu. It's really porcelainberry, which is another vine that they brought in.
It's not kudzu necessarily, it's porcelainberry, which is another vine.
What?
It's not kudzu, it's porcelainberry, which is another vine, invasive vine.
Right.
But be that as it may, you can't.
But the right, what we do with it as weed warriors, I mostly work in Montgomery County.
Weed warriors, mean anything to anybody? Ever heard of a weed warrior?
We actually.
We love we warriors.
I would like to be a weed, I am in my house, but
Yeah,
how do you
so
join?
Montgomery County Parks, National Capital Parks and Planning has a gal who's basically in charge of the program.
Weed warrior at the Montgomery County National Parks and Planning, Capital Parks and Planning, sorry.
Yes, you can go on their website and you can actually say, because there is lots of stuff out there. But what you do about porcelainberry, because again, there's limits of what we can do with it, is you chop it off as high as you can reach. You go down into the ground and you pull it out of the ground. And that at least will kill it. You have to leave the stuff up in the tree, because if you try and pull it out of the tree, you'll kill the tree as pulling it out.
You heard that? You heard that?
So that's
Sort
how,
of
that's how you
measure-
deal with it.
So you have to, if you're gonna go after this stuff,
Yeah, you have to know what you're
cut
doing.
it as high as you can reach and then pull it from the bottom and let the rest die, because if you pull it too hard, it will hurt the tree.
Pretty bigger than that.
It's much bigger than that.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
it's invaded our world. Alright, let's hear from the experts up here.
Kudzu's a never-ending, it's like trying to eliminate poverty. We all want it to happen. But that's exactly why I was just mentioning, you know, if we get armies and armies of volunteers out there, we should talk afterwards. I'd love to have you join us. We've got a whole bunch of weed warriors in our volunteer corps. They know what they're doing. We train volunteers how to do it wherever we are, depending on what the actual invasive species is, whether it's kudzu or English ivy or whatever. And we just have to do this on a perennial basis. And we're not gonna beat it completely because, I mean, if you've taken a boat up the Potomac, you feel like you're in Brazil almost. It's so bad. But we are taking a really strategic, systemic stab at this, and we're throwing money at it too. So we're very careful about where we put our strategic resources, but removing invasive species has such a knock-on effect for native plants and other forest types and plants. So if you get it at the source, then we can have a fighting chance. And getting back to your question, maybe not in 3 years, but in 10 years, 20 years, maybe our park will be relatively free of some of these incredibly degrading plants and trees that come in. So
There is hope. What were you up to say?
Oh, yeah, it's a huge problem. I mean, the urban FIA report we had, it was something like 58% of our plots contained invasive plants. Yeah, so it's mechanical removal, there's, herbicides you can use, but the investment and the commitment has to be there. I've definitely seen a lot of efforts that have happened that if you don't come back and do it again the next year and restore it, then you're just kind of like shuffling the deck of invasive species, and you get like new ones, some of the same in different proportions, and so that commitment is what you need. But we need it. I have trees in my park that you cannot see because the kudzu is covering them. So I've seen it. It's pervasive for sure. Yeah.
Feels like we're out of control instead of in control. Yes, sir. Oh no, that was just a gesticulation. Madam,
I have a question for
what
you
is your
guys.
name? What is your name, please?
Sorry, my name is Nina
Nina.
Sobransky. I live in Montgomery County also. So I live a little north of here, kind of right off of Rock Creek. up in North Bethesda, and we have, definitely like a multi-use area. It's like a little sliver of forest around the creek. And we've got, quite a bit of just dumping and trash, I think that happens like, because there are roadways that go over the park and, things just kind of get swept in. And there are some cleanups that happen, but do you guys have any, advice or resources around how to kind of engender a little bit more, I don't know, like ownership within the community?
So this is a very important question for everybody. We all live in places where there are places to recreate, to hang out, to walk your dog, to throw a frisbee. And if you're near a water source, especially one of the creeks, there's a lot of degradation and trash, and even in the parks without a creek. What can we do as peeps to take more ownership of our stuff, our place?
I would start with education, and communication. So one of our things is just, we have the most incredible cultural, historical, natural resource national park, and American history, going back to the Civil War and the American Revolution, is based in this park. I mean, it's incredible. And there's also this natural resource. So get people excited that they own this park. We're very Ken Burnsian about how we feel about this. It's your park. You own it. And we talk to inner city kids from DC and Montgomery County and Allegheny County, and we say, you own this is your park. And they go, what's a national park? And so it's a drumbeat. And so we're working through the school systems to produce the next steward, the next generation of stewards. What you can do, it gets back to kudzu. We have a lot of people going out. You know what they do? They pick up trash. I'm a canal steward. I'm a quartermaster. I'm up in the hills every single day, and I have those national park plastic things, and you'd be amazed how much trash accumulates day to day. Go down to Fletcher's in Georgetown. You go walking along, go walking up the river, and there's giant, push, what do they call it, the carts, there's old tires, there's just a bunch of junk there. And so when Deloitte comes in, or KPMG, or any number of these law firms or companies, they're coming out, and we have 20, 30 people a pop going back out there to pick all that stuff up. It's hard work. We have to train them not to, you gotta really put the gear on, but it's one shot at a time, and you just gotta do it consistently. And so it's part of a whole plan. And trash, as you know, there's a lot of stuff in there that's gonna it's gonna go into the soil, that's gonna affect our forests, but it's also gonna affect our waterways. So we have a whole dredging thing going on. We got money to dredge Fletcher's, for instance. But we got to get all that stuff out of there first before we start cleaning up the water.
Right here, sorry. Name?
Hi, I'm Stella. I'm from Capital Nature, and we're a DC-based nonprofit, and we work sometimes with Kasey and her team. And I have found that neighborhood-based nature and tree engagement is really, really interesting and effective. And we did a pilot series in 3 urban neighborhoods where we introduced neighbors to the nature of their neighborhood, which often goes unnoticed, except by you, because you take pictures of all that lichen on the street trees. Amy. So that's the idea, and we often start with street trees. We'll stand under the canopy of the street tree, and we'll talk about the role that tree plays in the local ecology and the different creatures that make their home there. And we start with kind of joy and engagement. And we've seen in several neighborhoods where, especially the seniors in the neighborhood through the village movement, they will literally come and they say, what can we do to help the trees? And they volunteer to step forward. So I think from my perspective, starting with kind of engagement and an openness and letting people discover what's there is one of the,
Just in your front yard.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear that? That was beautiful. Yeah. really beautiful. What's the name of your organization?
Capital Nature?
Capital Nature.
Yeah.
Easy to, it's a wonderful organization, we know that. Anybody else have a question? I have a question. I am probably a tree hugger, but I can't get my arms around my favorites. What are your favorites? What are your favorite trees? Local trees, here.
An individual tree or like a species?
Well, let's get specifics. Both.
It changes, but I love sweet gums because of the fall color, because of the fruit, which I've collected and thought would be perfect for some arts and crafts, and I still haven't got around to doing it. But and then in terms of an individual tree, I mean, I have to give it up to like the American elm that's like across the street from me that I saw day after day when I was working from home during the pandemic, and helped me just change my view shed and change the nature of what I see just from my house. And of course it's cooling it too, so.
Wow. Francis?
I've done a lot of photography all over the world, and I do a lot of photography on the canal. My favorites are the sycamores. And I have, particularly right now, when everybody's going to sleep, the sycamores start to shine. That gorgeous, elegant, skeletal look about them, and the white comes out, and all winter long you're looking at sycamores. So, and I've taken a lot of black and whites of sycamores throughout the winter. So, and I have too many specific ones that I talk to most days or most weeks. The other one is in the fall, if you go by a pawpaw tree and you shake it,
Who knows about pawpaw trees? Give us a 411 on that.
It's a fruit. It's sort of like a mango type fruit. It's what the Native Americans used to eat all the time, and they're up and down the towpath. And so I was a quartermaster at Pennyfield, which is one of the old 1830 lock houses. And in the fall, you go right next door and you just shake the tree. And whatever falls into your hand, eat it. Take your thumb, slice it open it up, and eat it. And take some home. It can only last a day or two, but take some home. They make great smoothies.
It is the season right now. In Washingtonians, it's a craze. People who know about it and go for it, and others who don't need to. Yeah. My favorite, and thank you for asking. So, I do love the sycamore. There's something just so ethereal about them. And I took a walk just after we installed this, and I don't know if we've seen the whole exhibition, but in the first room, Meg Goski's work here, Lightning Strike is on the right, and I want to tell you, I walked by so many. I said, that's that painting. No, that's that painting. I mean, art mimics nature, mimics art. It's so exciting to see our park in action, and to see I'm on the canal lot, not in it, but along it, and I do love it so. And I have my most memorable time on the canal was after that enormous snow we had. I went down, I put my cross-country skis, and I went down like 3 feet down we were creating the first trails, we thought. And we were out there for hours, pushing through. And there in the distance is this Nordic couple who were wearing the old skis that were made 50 years ago. We were the only nut jobs out there, but it was beautiful. What's your question? And what's your name?
Yes, so my name is Larry Davis. Kids call me Mr. Algae. So
Mr. Algae is in the front row here.
Yeah. Thinking about trees and thinking about trees that are in our neighborhoods, at our sidewalks, what trees have you seen that have done really well in those harsher environments versus trees that maybe could be struggling a bit more?
Everybody hear that?
Yeah, so trees that are doing very well, swamp white oaks do very well. They They also have a lot of really cool insects that live on them, so they're providing a lot of wildlife, resources there.
Wait a minute,
Bald
this is the
cypress.
insect maven,
That's
so
where we
which,
go to
which
it.
are the cool ones that live on that?
Well, they make galls. They make these galls that look like pine cones, and each little section has a wasp in it. Also bullet galls, also wasps live in there. On the underside of them, you'll see lace bugs, and they are sucking the sap, and so you'll see little yellow pinpricks on the top of it from them. And then you'll have lacewing predators that are going after the lace bugs. So anyway, it's like a whole ecosystem in a swamp white oak. And some of the species that are having a harder time, which we have obviously a lot of, are the Japanese flowering cherries. Let's see, dogwoods do very well in like front yards, but we don't often, it has to be a special location for like a street tree. Yeah.
Question here, and then we'll go back there.
Yeah, we're in an art gallery, and you obviously have taken a passion for nature and trees. And Francis, you said education is kind of a means to kind of creating awareness and passion. I would even say and inspiration. How do you use art as kind of a medium to help people, look at the world differently in nature, and how can we who appreciate photography kind of use our work to kind of make those kind of changes as well?
I think, first of all, I love this as much as we can extrapolate from the local and apply it to many different places around the world. I love that we're talking about what we have here, what we can do here, how we can affect change here. So I try to stay local with this kind of exhibition, which I think we've done this year on year. We've done some sort of botanical, ode to Washington, because Washington is so rich in so many ways. We have brought in some guests this time from various spots, but it's really to get people to appreciate what we have, and frankly also to make us feel a little better. It's a little rough out there now. We've had garden clubs come in. We had master class people who know all kinds of stuff. We program each of our exhibitions. This is a great question. I don't think many people are interested in the answer, but I could go on. But we program everything very, very intentionally, and we work as a team. Jordan Lee, that's the gallery director. Yes, there she is, and there's Anna Kay Pittman. Who else is around here? Maggie, is Maggie here? Anyway, we all work together to really elevate these issues. We write about them, and we bring in people who we think are going to connect with an audience and excite people, which I think you guys are doing.
Think back to the pandemic, when the whole world shut down. Actually, the beneficiary of that shutdown was nature, if you think about it.
That's right.
We gave nature a breather, and then a bunch of us were hoping that maybe humanity at large would kind of get its collective act together and go, we're destroying our planet. We better get our act together and do something about it. Of course, a nanosecond later, we're back to doing all the same old stuff. But what was it about the pandemic that kept us all sane? It was the artists, it was the painters, it was the poets, the writers, the singers, it was all those people out there just creating like crazy and making really, really beautiful things and kept us sane. I'm looking at this picture right here. I don't know who did it, but it is absolutely, it's absolutely gorgeous with the root systems going down. So the first book I read in the pandemic was called Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, right? New York Times bestseller, MacArthur Genius Awardee. She just came out with a smaller version of that. But read that book. Actually, don't read it, listen to it. Because it's all about trees, and it's all about root structure and botany, and how trees support each other through their root system. I imagine there's a little algae in there too, just to sort of keep it all juiced up, right? But read that book, and I came out of that the first few weeks, and I said, I'm going to survive the pandemic, whatever it is, because I'm surrounded by beauty in this national park. And so
It's very inspiring.
it's the
very
creatives
inspiring.
that are going to keep us going.
How about you?
For what keeps me going, or what?
Yeah, and how do you see,
deep
you
question.
no, but you take on a lot of big stuff. How do you make, when you talk to people, how do you make what you are doing important to them?
I connect it to their lives. I try and connect the trees very directly to what they experience, or to other people. So I can get caught up with like spouting out some numbers, but I know from experience that like bringing in interesting facts about trees that are more related to people than the trees themselves really catch people's attention. So it's hard for me coming from like that sciencey kind of like mindset, but like I know that like if you can make a emotional connection between nature and people, that they will remember it also is the important thing. So we tried to do that during the pandemic. We had like pop-up arboreta with signs out on trees so that we couldn't meet with people, but we were trying to put this stuff out there so they could like find it, and things like that. And some of the signs were still up in my neighborhood, and someone was like, "Oh, do you see the sign?" I was like, "I did see that sign." So
That's beautiful.
It's
It's a
fun.
nice reminder too. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful reminder of a very strange time. Yes, please, in the back. Name.
Hi, my name is Puri, and first, thank you for bringing the nature to the art and bringing the education part to the public. And second one is the question actually. What can we do as member of the community to preserve the trees or the trees that needs to be preserved, but then, there are also trees that might not need to be preserved. I don't know, so my question is that what can we do as member of the community to contribute to that efforts?
Yeah, so I work in DC, but it's the same for other communities, which is if you see something, say something. Like let your local urban forestry department know if you see something that looks a bit off. Part of that is understanding what is like a normal healthy tree look like, right? Because you kind of have to have that basic. So part of that is knowing the trees, like knowing your tree species and what trees should look like. But let someone know maintaining healthy trees. That's kind of getting at your thing, like what not all trees need to be maintained, like kept if they're not healthy, right? So keeping them healthy so that we can keep those big trees. And if you can plant a tree on your private property, like please do so, because that's like the next frontier of like where the opportunity is for tree planting. And last thing, don't overmulch your trees. We don't need like big volcanoes, just like 3 inches, and it's simple, so.
It can actually light on fire in the summer. I say that from experience, maybe several of them. Yeah.
This country is based on volunteerism. I'm an international nomad that came to this country, and it's just amazing what volunteerism across the board in this society is all about. I went to high school just up the road here, and every Saturday we had to go do something. We not had to, we always volunteered in community service. So my easy answer is volunteer. Pick your passion, pick your issue. Whatever really at the end of the day just turns you on, really drives that energy level. And if it's trees, if it's water systems, if it's national parks, I'm a little biased, but I love state parks and global parks and every kind of park. Sign up, go do something. And it doesn't have to be, you're gonna save the world tomorrow, but if you're gonna pick up trash or take out invasive species or come paint a barn with the mules of the Great Tavern hang out, or whatever. Sign up for whatever organization you think is doing a good job of making an impact. And at the end of the day, we're both in the business of having impact. And we measure ourselves, and we're accountable to ourselves, and we're accountable to our donors. And at the end of the day, we're in service to the American public. That's what we do, and our organizations do that. So, but we need you. We really need all of you to pick your thing and come join in this army that's going to save the forests of this town, the city, and this big long park that goes all the way up to Cumberland. And I would invite you to have a lazy afternoon and go hike the whole thing.
So true, so true. I mean, the excellence here of, your mix of very, very well-placed philanthropy, because you really know what you're talking about. You're an expert and you've lived it as a professional, and you're leading it now with unbelievable generosity. And this country is all about volunteerism. It's what we are, we're unlike any other nation because of it. It really does distinguish us. And right now, I think we need more than ever. We need to help each other more than ever. Yeah. So I thank you all for coming. And I hope we didn't leave any words unsaid. And come back and see us again. Thank you.